After Ubisoft officially announced the game's existence on social media, Far Cry fans can't wait for the next edition to the franchise. Far Cry 6 shows to be promising in its trailers, and finally, after the delays brought by the pandemic, it's gonna make its initial release on the 7th of October. With its release date getting close, fans will need a rundown of essential things about the game from the trailers and announcements to prepare themselves for the franchise. From a tropical nation to a guerrilla rebellion and to adorable pets that fight by your side, here are 15 things you need to know before buying Far Cry 6. League of Gamers covers gaming content and commentaries on the latest video game releases, immersive storylines, and gameplay experiences. We provide exciting and interesting information for gamers anywhere around the world. So if you want to be updated with the newest releases, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more. This next game in the series raises many expectations for its plot and features, aiming to continue the brand of open-world mayhem that Far Cry is known to be. It raises the bar of expectations as it shows a jarring rebellion, and fans can't wait to experience the game themselves. However, there's more about the new addition to the franchise than just the continuation of the plot. Before buying the game, a true gamer knows that gameplay details matter too, and once you know what Far Cry 6 can offer, you can ensure a good gaming experience for yourself. So, what should you know about the game before you buy it right off the shelf? Let's begin. Plot. All of the Far Cry games have one thing in common, and that's the immersive and suspenseful plot lines that fans love. Far Cry 6 breaks away from Far Cry 5 and New Dawn's Montana for a Caribbean vacation in the fictional nation of Yara, where things are obviously a little crazy and violent. The next Ubisoft shooter is set during a revolution to overthrow a ruthless dictator, Anton Castillo. The game will revolve around a guerrilla rebellion led by Dani Rojas, fighting against the rulership of Anton. That's all about the plot so far released to the public, but it sounds exciting and thrilling for a game continuing the series. The protagonist, Dani Rojas. One of the best new features that Far Cry 6 has to offer is a new fully voiced protagonist, Dani Rojas. Fans can remember that in the other previous games where the protagonists seem to be simply observers. Here, the protagonist has their own personality, motivations, and development throughout the story. Far Cry 6 is also the first game in the franchise to feature third-person cutscenes, and seeing our protagonist in these critical moments brings more involvement into the story. And did we also mention that players can choose the gender of Dani Rojas? Whether they want to play as a man or a woman. Though the character is not customizable, Dani Rojas still amplifies Far Cry 6 to a higher level. Gameplay. Far Cry 6 is set in the nation of Yara, the biggest environment that the series has yet introduced us to. Yara is also the home of Esperanza, a major city that transcends all the small settlements from the previous games. The new environment also offers more verticality, because of the high-rise buildings. The weaponry you'll see is a little different to match the revolutionary theme, and so the weapons look more improvised and homemade. They are customizable, and now loadouts can accommodate many different playstyles, so now gamers can holster their weapons and try not to draw attention. There are a total of 49 weapons and plenty of attachments to choose from. A few notable categories of weapons include the regular ones like revolvers, everyday items like baseball bats, stealth weapons like throwing knives, and hand-built ones like the flamethrower. The gameplay also becomes more interactive as it allows players to pay bribes to different enemies, hijack trucks, and even commit sabotage. Far Cry is known for its over-the-top and improvised aspects, which can be seen in the silly new mechanic of healing through pressing a lit cigarette on the wound. Far Cry 6 also introduces the Supremos, which are super moves in the form of an upgradable backpack, some of which can clear an area instantly and provide a rocket jump. Aside from weapons, player clothing can improve headshot damage, increase stealth and mobility, or guarantee throwing knives hit their target. 2-player co-op. Yes, Far Cry 6 is integrating co-op front and center. Ubisoft has confirmed that the entire game is playable in 2-player co-op, such as with your friends. However, public matchmaking will also be an option. The solo and co-op experiences will vary, especially when it comes to loot and progression. In addition, all the post-launch content can be accessed in 2-player co-op. The Castillos. We have briefly introduced the brutal dictator of Yara, Anton Castillo, who has full control over the island. The entire game is about overthrowing this tyrant of a ruler. However, aside from him, another Castillo gives a good pivot turn to the story. His son, Diego Castillo. His father wants him to follow in his footsteps in the regime one day. Still, Diego is unsure of his future, and seeing his father's violent methods has disillusioned him, suggesting an interesting possible plot twist. Yara. We have introduced Yara a while back, but there's much to know about it. It is a fictional Caribbean island inspired by Cuba. Ubisoft has said that this is the largest Far Cry playground to date and a tropical paradise frozen in time. Because of Anton Castillo's dictatorship, Yara is detached from the outside world and is entirely behind modern times. Under his rule, the people continue to suffer, and this sparked a rebellion. The entire setting is appropriate to the game's revolution concept and is perfect for the story's unfolding. Camps. Guerrilla camps have been established by Far Cry 6 following its central guerrilla motif. These camps are hidden, where Dani and the other members of the rebellion meet to rest, strategize, and gather weapons along with gears, vehicles, and more. In addition, these camps are upgradable to suit different needs. For example, across these camps are construction desks that allow players to construct and upgrade different structures such as barracks. Ubisoft disclosed a lot about the new game to us. What do you think of these Far Cry 6 details so far? If you think there are any more details worth being on this list, comment down below. No arcade mode. Unfortunately, unlike the previous Far Cry games, Far Cry 6 will not have an arcade mode. Though this mode has become a favorite among fans, arcade mode will not be returning in the new game, and Ubisoft explained that this is because they want to focus on the single-player aspect of the campaign. Free post-launch content. Far Cry 6 will be having free content editions, and it has been announced that there will be 3 crossover events with their own missions, 6 special operations, and weekly insurgencies. The first crossover is called Dani and Dani vs. Everybody, where Dani Rojas will team up with actor Danny Trejo, playing himself. The other 2 events are crossovers with Rambo and Stranger Things. However, details on these events are too little as of now, so this is more of a reason to anticipate the release. Horse riding. You can ride horses in Far Cry 6, which players could not do in Far Cry 5 because it wasn't available there even though it took place in Montana. Horses are one of the vital transportation methods in Yara since it's a place without much modern technology. Also, riding horses while viewing the island's tropical scenery offers a great aesthetic to any player. Viviro. Going back to Anton Castillo, his dictatorship extends not just to violence, but also to his master plan involving Viviro, a far-reaching new cancer treatment that he plans to use as a way of increasing the global influence of Yara. However, this plan is not as revolutionary as it seems because it involves a wide range of aggressive expansion and continuous production, which has terrible effects such as pollution, forced labor, and military abuse. It is part of the story to sabotage Castillo's Viviro production as Dani looks forward to tearing down his regime. Amigos. If you can remember, players had pals that fought alongside them in Far Cry 5. That feature is also available in Far Cry 6, but they are all animals under the Fang for Hire this time. So yes, we'll be seeing Guapo the crocodile who chomps our enemies, and a cute wiener dog named Chorizo that has a basket of weapon parts and a wheelchair equipped with spikes. Helpful pals, that's for sure. The Macarena Gun. Far Cry 6 is a great shooter game, but that doesn't mean there won't be any silly mechanics scattered here and there. The Macarena Gun is a weapon classified as a vinyl record launcher that plays Macarena by Los Del Rio when you use it. Pretty cool and entertaining at the same time. PC features. The game played on a PC will offer a properly optimized experience through its ultra-wide resolution support, hybrid ray trace reflections and shadows, uncapped frame rates, smooth controls, adaptive resolution, and others. All of these features ensure a smooth gaming experience without any difficulties for continuous enjoyment. In addition, players can also trigger various visual settings for any adjustment on lighting, volumetric fog, shadows, texture, and more. PC requirements. If you plan on buying the game, you'd have to know what kind of rig you'd be needing for it. A Ryzen 3 500 or an Intel i5 4460 is what you'll need for low settings at 1080p at 30 frames per second, which would need about 8 gigs of RAM. For high settings of 1080p at 60 frames per second, you'll need either Ryzen 5 3600X or an Intel i7 7700 with about 16 gigs of RAM. For ultra settings of 1440p at 60 frames per second, RAM requirements are the same. Still, you'll need a Ryzen 5 3600X or an Intel i7 9700K, along with either an RX 5700 XT or an RTX 2070 Super. And now we've reached the end of this video. Now you know everything you need to know before you buy Far Cry 6. If you have anything to say, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to get more videos on future game releases. See you in the next video.